What do you call it when Batman skips out on going to church?
I don't know.
Christian Bale.
Let's move away from lies and fears. Perhaps it's time to leave. Free from how you look or what they say. Like a lion runs wild through the wilderness. Free from showing off or living fake. Like the eagles flying high, dancing with the air. There's breath in your lungs to breathe. Say, God, take this mask away. You see, he won't let you stay. Living in hollow days.
This get worse and worse.
I was gonna say Ben Affleck, but
That's low.
It's funny. I thought about saying Robert Pattinson, but it wouldn't make any sense for the joke. But also, we're talking about the Batman camera test screen thing that happened.
The first look.
The first look. There's so many different names for this. It's a screen test. So we're talking about that this week. Thank you for joining us. I am next to some very good friends of mine. My wife, Hannah.
We're very good friends.
We are very good friends. That's
they're good
important. It really is. Don't get married to someone who's not your friend.
don't get married to someone.
That's a life tip. That was free.
That was free.
The
was
next
a free
one.
life
The
tip.
next one costs $10.
You have to
I'm cheap.
subscribe for the next one.
Then we got Joel, we got Derek, and we're gonna be talking about this screen test. It was maybe like 45 seconds, and also super intense.
It was dark and broody.
He was like,
so very intense.
it was like I
red.
thought, like dark, gritty. This is like DC's thing, but then the screen test happens, and there's like, it's like he's in a room where maybe he's developing photography, like
he is,
I don't
you know,
know,
yeah,
like, what's going on, right? And then at the last second, he's just like. But then there's like this intense drum beat the entire time. We're gonna be going frame by frame
No, we're not.
for the
No, we're
next
not.
2 hours.
We're not one of those people.
No, we are not.
We could be.
We could be that channel.
Could
Is
Do
that
you
what
want us to be that channel?
viewers?
Let us know.
Comment down below if you want us to be that
do
channel.
a frame by frame. I would not do it a frame by frame.
No, but seriously though. So obviously we know nothing really about the story from that particular video, but just in general, talk about the upcoming Batman movie, Robert Pattinson being Batman. What do you guys think about that? Is there anything interesting that you want to talk about from the video that was released? For me, I actually really like the design of the Batsuit. I'm excited, even though we only saw like here up. I thought it was really sleek. So I'm
I have to say, I'm more of
cautiously
a
optimistic.
George Clooney suit fan. Myself. I think it adds. I think it really expresses like what we want to see in the Batsuit. But that's just me.
Joel, it's great to have you on the podcast.
I'm just trying to nip this thing in the butt. All right?
Okay, yes. I thought it was pretty cool. We didn't see like the ears. Batman's ears are very distinct in the comic books. Yeah, I don't know which way they're going. I'm trying to keep us on the track.
Please do. Please do.
One thing that people comment, the bat signal looked functional. People didn't know if it was like a batarang or whatever. There's a storyline in the comics where Batman actually finds the guy who unfortunately killed his parents. He takes the gun and melts it down and actually uses that as a bat symbol. So that's a pretty serious thing. I'm not sure if they're going that deep with it. But it's a
Did he
deep
first
comic.
murder that man with an assault rifle, or
He
was
did
that
not.
just Ben Affleck?
That's just Ben Affleck.
Okay.
That was just Batman versus Superman.
Okay, just checking.
Gotta stay in church,
What studio
That's a good
is
callback.
putting this Batman together?
It's DC. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they're starting over again.
Yep.
But hey, I would have to say I didn't feel like I saw enough of the suit to be able to really comment on it, other than the
one piece
the
that we
one
saw,
piece.
the symbol.
Yeah. As far as Robert Pattinson's concerned, I think a lot of people give him crap for Twilight, but if you look at his other movies, he's actually a pretty good drama actor. I think that bodes well for him since Batman's a pretty dramatic, like, character. But I think that there's also a danger of him taking it too heavy. So I'm curious to see how the writers direct him.
Yeah. Well, and that actually brings up a good point that we had talked about before we were recording earlier, that, you can give Batman versus Superman all the grief you want, but at the end of the day, I think maybe not most, but a lot of people would agree that Ben Affleck did a good job with what he was given. But at the same time, when he was first announced as Batman, a lot of people were like, that Sum of All Fears guy, like, what has he even been in that would possibly prepare him for being Batman? But I thought he did a pretty great job for the script that he had, and so I'm hoping that I will be equally pleased with Robert Pattinson. That he's gonna bring his A game, and hopefully the script does as well, and the directing and everything else does, and we get a really good product.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When Ben Affleck was announced, I was like, huh. What? But I thought he did fine. With again what he was given. So yeah, I'm definitely willing to give Robert Pattinson a good try. He's got the jawline. He's got the jawline.
The most important thing.
And people tend to forget that Twilight was over a decade ago.
Yes,
quite a long time ago.
He's grown up a bit. It's okay, guys.
Yes,
It's grown up, aged like a fine wine of sorts. But the point of that, okay, this is why.
more of like a sparkling wine.
So bad.
I'll be here all week.
I like it. It's going to be interesting because I imagine that they're going to try to cross this over into the Joker and into the Birds of Prey universe, which are both been rating hard R ratings. So I don't know, guys. I mean, we're gonna see how intense they're going to make it, but it looks like, at least from the tonally, I would not be surprised if they go R with this one. And they may not do it for the sake of sales, but I think that they'll probably try to skirt the line.
Maybe we don't know.
We don't know.
Joker was kind of its own standalone movie. We don't know if they're going to cross over. Birds of Prey is currently out as we're recording this, and it's not doing well. So I'm not sure if they're like just going to drop that totally. We know that Wonder Woman did well and Aquaman did well. So are they going to try to introduce the Justice League down the road again? We're not sure where they're going. I think they're going to do a standalone Batman and probably see how it goes with Robert Pattinson and go from there. So
yeah, well, and I know we've talked about it before, but Wonder Woman 1984 looks great.
It's a good trailer.
I know we're talking about Batman, but might as well talk about the things that I'm actually excited about.
Yeah, I think
excited about Batman.
I think my concern is again with Batman versus Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman. He was so different than a lot of the comic book takes on the character. When we first saw him, he was like killing people like crazy. Like we're like, what is getting into Batman? They get a little bit into why, but they didn't even dig too much into that. And so I'm more concerned. What take are they going to take on Batman? Like, how is he going to be? So yeah, I'm curious. What Batman are they going to choose?
Right. Well, and it seems like with DC, you don't know what you're going to get. We were talking about this earlier, that Marvel has this tendency to do a fairly decent job of at least embodying the ideals of the characters from the comics. So Captain America in the MCU, at least for me, as someone who hasn't read every comic timeline in existence, I apologize.
What?
I know.
Get out of here.
Chris Evans' Captain America was what I expected Captain America to be. Thor was Thor. Iron Man was Iron Man. Doctor Strange was Doctor Strange. I was very pleased with how they fleshed those characters out. Whereas, like Batman specifically, every director has a different take on it that's just very different. And then the Ben Affleck Batman was just completely different from a lot of what people expected. Now, did Batman never kill a single person in any of the comics? No. But the general idea is Batman has this moral code, and one of the things he doesn't do is kill bad guys, which is why he never killed the Joker, even though you could easily make the argument that had he killed him, millions of people would be alive that aren't now because the Joker is awful. But regardless, that's his code. He doesn't do that. And Ben Affleck's character kind of shifted away from that again. And every time DC kind of shifts away, it feels like they missed the mark somewhere. So I don't know.
Well, I think there's something that we can all agree on here. If Ben Affleck was like the Batfleck, then this one can be the Batman.
I disagree.
You don't think that's fair? Okay.
I don't think that's
Don't
something
engage.
we can all agree.
Don't engage. Don't engage. It's okay.
Don't engage.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
The podcast is shattered right now with our opinions. Okay.
Hey, Derek, so you had a great point earlier where you were talking about how we don't know what version we're going to get.
No, it's true.
And how many times have we interacted with someone in real life where maybe they're going through like a really trying time, and they might have, I mean, whether we're talking about like actual bipolar disorder or mood swings, regardless of that, you don't always know who you're going to talk to when you connect with them. Like sometimes they're really upset, or sometimes they're really happy, or sometimes they're going through a really rough time. And I think all of us have seasons of our life where we go through difficult times. And if we only connect with someone every few months, we might see really jarring differences in people. And so, when we don't know what we're going to expect, sometimes it can cause us to pull away from someone who might really need to be in a relationship, and see some healing there. So what experiences do you have with that, or what wisdom would you like to share about interacting with people that sometimes they go through personality shifts, or they're struggling with anger or depression or what have you?
Yeah, no, that's a great intro to our faith point here. It's jarring when someone's character changes. If someone's, we all grow, we all change as we, go through life and have different experiences. But when you walk into the house and you don't know day to day what person you're going to get, that can be jarring. I think of a lot of students we work with who's might have a parent who's an alcoholic or something, and they don't know if it's going to be a good day or a bad day with them. And yeah, we're talking about Batman. It's a light topic here. It's just a movie. But this idea of character, when you can't depend on someone to have a certain personality type or whatever, it can be tough. It can be hard. And there can be a lot of reasons why someone might change their character. Like you said, they could be going through a difficult time. It could be a medical issue. But that doesn't make it easier on those who interact with them. I think we can have understanding if we know what's going on behind the scenes. But it can be really difficult to deal with. And so I think we need to acknowledge that and give grace to people. We also need to recognize that sometimes our character can shift. Maybe we're having a bad day, maybe we're more irritable than we're supposed to be, or we usually are. And that could be hard on other people as they're interacting with us. So I think it's important for us to realize, for us, when our character might be a little off, and sit down and actually process why. One of the things I love about God is God says, if you need wisdom, ask. He's not offended for you asking. So even if you are going through something you don't know why, like ask God. Like if it's an ongoing thing, it might be a medical issue, go seek help. If you're dealing with someone whose character changes a lot, again, what's going on behind the scenes? Is it a substance abuse? Are they just having a bad day? Is there some way that you can possibly help them? Or is there healthy boundaries you might want to set up? What do you guys think about this idea of dealing with someone whose character is changing all the time?
I think the first thing that I do is remind myself that I have been that person for people in my life where, I went through a few years where it was a really dark time for me, and people probably didn't know whether they ever voiced that to me or not. They didn't know which John they were going to get that day. And that's really rough to come out on the other side and to recognize that I was that person in someone's life. But I think that it's also encouraged me and given me the patience and the grace to interact with people like that. There are people in my life right now who are like that, both at home and at work, and I am not as quick as some of my friends and colleagues to just get upset or talk about them behind their back or be irritable, because I have now this understanding of what it's like to be in that kind of a situation, and the empathy that creates is helpful. So do we all want to pray to go through a period of depression in our lives? No. I think wisdom alone would be fantastic. But the important part there is being empathy, and you can be empathetic without having experienced the exact same trial that someone else has. And so being able to realize that, I may not be where they are, but that's not because I'm better than them. It's by the grace of God alone. And so that alone helps us to give people patience and grace to work through what they need to work through, and hopefully be a part of their story of, healing and wholeness.
It's really good.
Yeah. I met what if people where they put on a face, it's like, and it's very hard to get to the deeper self, and it's tough, and it's not, there's times when it just takes time, just building trust with like that person to kind of have them open up, and it also depends. Like one of the things about character is that throughout our lives, we're fulfilling different roles in different times. Because it's like if you're a spouse, you're fulfilling that role. If you're a kid to your parents, you're filling that role. If you're a father to like your child, you're fulfilling that role. If you're a pastor or a pupil, whatever, there's different kind of dynamics there, and depending on that relationship with that person, it may be tougher to get to their inner core, especially if there's someone that's like a parent or a leader, because they're saving face because they want to be someone that you look up to or they admire. So it's tough for them to express their heart to you. But if there was another leader, another parent that would talk to them, that may open their heart up more, because they can kind of be like, okay, I feel like I can be myself, or I feel like I can let this stuff go. I have to hold on to it. The truth of the matter is that God tells us in, I believe it's Matthew 8, after he does the Sermon on the Mount, he says like the man who does all these things I've said, which is do not lie, do not murder, do not steal, do not adulterate, all these things. He says that will be like the man who's like built his house upon a rock, you know. And when the storm comes, like when the rain comes, like the house stays standing. And the one who doesn't do them is like the man who built on sand and collapses. And one of the things is like in this Christian journey, God is constantly refining us, and I believe that God wants us to be our true self with all people at all time. At least that's my opinion. I don't think that we should have a certain attitude as one person and a different attitude as someone else. I think that God wants us to be, because that's how He is to us. He's fully transparent to us. So I think that He wants to be the same way for us, and that's part of the refining mindset. Our pastor went through a series like the orphan mindset. People who feel like they're outcasts, left out. They start to find their worth in what they do as opposed to who they are. And the minute that what they do does not gain them the recognition or the fulfillment they want, then they just plummet into just self-doubt. And I have been through a place like that too, where I made my work like my main idol. But mine was opposite effect. The minute that I started to succeed in my job was when I got the most depressed, because I realized I was striving for something that would never fulfill me. I was like the woman at the well who was drawing from the well, but it was water that always ran dry. And that's like a quick version of like my testimony is that's what made me want to seek God and realize there has to be something deeper here that can be stable to make me stable, so that I can help other people be stable. So this way the whole community can be moving in one accord and actually be doing something good for this planet, as opposed to leading it further and further down a road of destruction and death. You know,
I think it's easy to say that we should trust God to guide us through these kinds of situations, to working with these people. But for some people, that just simply the idea of trusting God can be scary.
Oh, amen, yeah.
I think that's because a lot of people project their experiences with other people on what they think God is going to be like. You know, the one I hear the most often is the idea of, you know, God is our Father. And they may not have a great experience with their father. Maybe their father is that person in their life that they don't know what kind of person they're going to get. But one of the things that's important to remember is that God is not able to go against His character. That He is always going to be true to His character, which is good and just and kind and loving. And when people start to realize that, then it's going to be easier for them to lead on God in those times when they're dealing with imperfect people, which is all people.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
We gotta talk to John about this afterwards.
That's awesome, Hannah. James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift is from God above, and He doesn't change like shifting shadows. So He is the one person that we can always count on. To bring it full circle, is Batman going to be good? I don't know. It depends on what take how they handle the character. We know that God is always good. We know we can always depend on that. So even if we're dealing with people who are going through hard times, or we're going through a hard time ourselves, that is one thing that's going to be stable. We can always grab onto that.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you, all of you, for being here on this panel and talking about Batman, but in reality, talking about how do we deal with change? How do we deal with people who shift in ways that we don't expect, and being able to see that we can be grounded and rooted and anchored in a God that doesn't change and a God that doesn't shift. And if you don't know what exactly that means, then I would encourage you to just start reading James chapter 1 and just read it for a little bit and see what God has to say about who He is and how much He loves you and cares about you so much that He doesn't change, that He's always there, and always there to listen and always there to help. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment down below if you are excited or not excited about Batman, or if there's maybe something that spoke to you and you want to talk. We read the comments and we would be happy to reply. Do it now while we're still a small channel and we can respond to every comment.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.
And taste and see and know that the Lord is good.
Amen.
That's right there, man.
So what I was saying was,
What did you say?
Derek,
Just
Derek
say it. Just say
mentioned your beard, and I said I wouldn't call that a beard.
That's what you
I
said.
said if you rub your face and it's still smooth, it doesn't
Well,
count.
if you rub it up this, way. See, I'm the one
You
that
go
goes
against the grain.
I'm the guy that goes against the grain.
All right.